Latest sketchbook I just finished. I made the last drawing when we made this film. It's I usually with the first page the one thing I tend to do is draw the date when I started this. I started this the 9th of August 2016, and it's just the part of where I live and stuff like that. And it's as usual, it's like I have those themes. Pens is a great way. When I don't really have an idea, I just make a complete spread just with pens. In this case, I think in this book I started experiment a little bit with colored inks. So I bought this gray ink when I was in Singapore, so I started using that. So it's also part when I can't really have an idea. I just make robots. So I just start and I small ideas. And this is when I really want to draw something simple. I made this from a little thing from the film 2001. I don't really remember all the things I've been drawing, so it's always a surprise for me as well. It's also a lot of questions I get online is the materials I make, and instead of answering it, I just make a drawing. But I can't really be that true to reality. I always want to make it a little bit a twist to it. So the watercolor cakes are small monsters, and this little brush is made of finest unicorn hair instead of what's in reality. So it's just part of an ongoing artistic project. So I don't really have and I really enjoy doing those kind of cluttered things. This is some kind of breakfast theme. It's also with us experimenting with this colored ink, and I think this is made with an ink that is not water fast. So it's when I add water, it starts to dilute, but it worked anyway. Some kind of tools, and it's also one theme I have. It's like making a scene from our house, and this is actually pretty close to reality. It's our kitchen, but I experimented in not eating any sugar, so it's part of this image. I just started making this Nutella bottles all over the kitchen, and I made my wife into a small version of it. I'm not really sure why, but I really enjoyed this little image. So it's very random, but it's that's how I work. And this is last fall I made a lot of travel, so I spent a lot of time on the airport, and this is what I was traveling to Switzerland. So it's people with money and stuff like that. Not sure why. And this is when I was in Singapore also for Illustration Art Fest and Singapore Writers Festival, and I made those drawings when I had a talk. I had a little workshop, so I made it on place and posted it online so people could kind of visiting me while I was there. So it works great. And this is also part of, I really enjoy when I'm abroad, just sitting down and making kind of a drawing how I feel. And this I went to the botanical gardens in Singapore, and it was one of my first days there, and I was strange because it was so humid and everyone looked so dry. So this is part of a little story from there. And it's also, that's the Writers' Festival's different talks I had. And it's just like when I opened the hub of the car, I don't understand how anything works. So this is my kind of feel of how a motor looks. So on occasion I don't work chronologically. I skip pages, not sure why, because I think I tend to save those pages that have a true fold. and really make something special with those folds. So this is part of when I was in Singapore at the botanical garden. So then in that case I didn't really need that fold in the middle. And this is also from Singapore. And I actually started this while I visited the National Gallery, and so part of it is kind of from reality, but it's my feeling, because all the high-rise buildings, we don't really have that in Sweden, so it's kind of exotic. So I took the high-rise and kind of exaggerated parts of it, and I also added my own stuff, like I think it's money laundry. It's probably nice, and the Eiffel Towers. It's a lot of details that it's part of my imagination. And this is a drawing from the food stuff. So it's some dragons. It's also experimenting a little bit. I bought a red ink in Singapore. And this is while traveling. That's a great, when you travel on the airplane, you can't really do anything. You can watch a film, but I prefer to really, you're stuck in this seat for 5-6 hours, and it's a great way of just making those kind of airplane sketches. A lot of sketchbook artists do that, but I tend to get bored with doing things from reality, so I made this version. And this was from Doha to Stockholm, and it was completely packed with Swedish people who has been in Thailand, so it was really loud and extremely noisy. It was nice to this was some kind of meditation for me. Just some technical stuff. And this page is not really finished because it's supposed to be some kind of comic about having a workshop, but I haven't really found exactly what I should do. This is one of the later one. I made a kind of a Rococo version of astronauts. So it's and on occasion this time I really wanted to make as small drawing as possible. So it's a very, very small drawings. It's more pens, and this is a drawing I made while filming. I have a film crew here, so it's made, and I managed to dirty up the page. It's something I don't really do, but it's part of the robot now. And it's something, for me, it's very relaxing making robots. I'm not sure. I used to work with 3D, so it's probably part of a constant fascination with mechanical things. And this was, I think it was, I didn't watch it, but there was so much talk about, I'm not sure, what's that? American football. Yeah, it's American football. I don't understand it at all. And I didn't read up, so I just made some kind of my version of it. This is just random things you can have in your kitchen, perhaps. And this is, I used to work with the Swedish television company, so this is part of a memory from that time. My constant fascination with computer games, going to the dentist. And this is also part of the traveling thing. We went to France, and I started it waiting for my publisher. So just waiting at the check-in counter, and then I finished it while in France. So it's I think I worked from this angle and that's just upwards. This is my wife, and it's me and our dog, as we're buying a new car. More technical stuff, patterns. And this is also seen from my days as a game developer long time ago. And I haven't really finished it. It's more like those emojis. And I made this for the Christmas vacation. And it's also a self-portrait. But if I were to get it tattooed, it's and this is while I'm going by train down to Gothenburg, and it's a really shaky train, so it's quite difficult to draw on the train, but you just have to let the characters be more shaky. And I also, when I draw in the sketchbook, I have to start both from the front and both from the end. So it's when I'm not feeling up to it to drawing, I start from the back, and then in the end I end up in the middle of the book. And this is also one of those airplane sketches. I was going to Vienna and having a workshop, so that's part of it, and that's part of the Viennese fashion scene maybe. Some more pens, some dragons, and now my daughter is coming home from school. And this is part when I went to Iran, so I had some workshops and exhibitions. So that's some music instruments from Iran. And that's the last page of that sketchbook. That's